Hey everyone, since my last update on Apple, the stock has continued to go higher as we suggested in terms of its year-end momentum, but it hasn't really changed the picture that it might see a pullback here as we head into the new year. I'd like to give you a quick update here on that matter. So first of all, let's before we look at the absolute chart, let's just look at the relative performance, and this is, I think, a really important point about this whole thing. If you look at this chart, you've got three lines. You've got the energy sector, which is the bottom line, the blue line, and you can see over the past 1 month of performance is down about almost 11%. Yet you see Apple and Palantir, two of the very strongest and largest stocks over the past 1 month, running up about 11 and 27% respectively. Now, the reason why this is important is because there's a lot of year-end dynamics that happen that I think is important not to ignore. So in a year like this, when we've seen a lot of fund managers, as usual, kind of underperform their benchmarks, and fund managers by and large now have closed their books. It's really just algorithms, but the algos are playing the same game in terms of knowing where the momentum might be. So they've continued over the past number of weeks to sell down the stuff that has not worked well that this year, which is to some extent focused on around the energy sector. And although everyone's very underweight energy, which is why we're so bullish next year on energy, and yet they're taking that little exposure they have to energy, selling that down, and basically chasing the few names that I've worked from my momentum perspective over the past really year to date. There's a lot of names actually that have worked year to date, but the big ones here, or at least two of the big ones, are these two. The question, of course, is what does this mean going forward and into the new year? Well, we could easily envision a situation where energy, which again we're for many, many reasons, structurally, higher inflation for longer, many things are extremely bullish on for probably 5 to 10 years going forward here. Why that could reverse as we head into the new year and people start buying energy and maybe start taking some profit, some of these things, not necessarily in day one of the new year or week one or even month one, right? But through the lens of the 2025 calendar year. So let's take this a step further and go into the actual chart of Apple. This is what I mentioned, pointed out just a few days ago, and you can see that Apple essentially has this tendency to break out of ranges and then retest. It does it over and over again. I'll show you three of these, or two of them, and the third one is maybe the one that's going to start happening here as we head into the new year. So you can see it tends to consolidate for months and months, break out, and then retest, and then who knows where it goes from there. And I think the odds of this happening here is, again, very high. So zooming in closer, you can see Apple once again on a tear. Again, a lot of this is not necessarily fundamentally driven, but more fund flows driven, year-end dynamics. It's really that. And so I could easily envision from here or from a little bit higher, still it's entirely possible, ultimately about a 7 to 10% pullback in these shares of Apple. So if I was long the stock, I don't have a single stock position on here, but this might be an opportunity to maybe sell some calls, to maybe take some profits. If I was long the stock, maybe buy some puts or put spread, something of that nature, to kind of be prepared for maybe some reversal of this entire trade that has been taking place for the past couple of months here as we are rounding off 2024. Hope it helps. See you soon.